So we've got a lot of ground to cover. I'm just gonna tell you that straight talk, no chaser. Now I'm about to ruffle some feathers, okay? This is me informing, okay? Hey love, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time meeting me, hey, I'm Sharr Smith, creator and owner of Limitless Soul Love. I help you create balance and stability in the event of an emotional crisis, and I do this by helping you adapt, find answers, and create solutions so that you can move forward and do so quickly, efficiently, and with ease. Particularly, this video is going to cover the emotional authority in human design. I was presented with a question, not me directly, but a question was posed in a Facebook group that I'm in for manifestors, asking, when it comes to the emotional authority, how the hell do you know when the right time is to make a decision? Now I'm sitting here typing away thinking, oh, this is easy. Bing, bam, boom, here you go, let's go. But apparently this is not common knowledge, and I do understand that this is all information, insight, spiritual downloads, etc. that I have gathered as a result of research, my own personal experiences, observing and coaching clients, and really just getting my hands dirty and trying things out in true line 3 fashion over the course of years. Like, a lot has gone into obtaining this information, and because I look at it every day, because I'm experimenting with it every day, for me it just feels like common knowledge. But I realized that I had collected all of this data, this information, this insight, these spiritual downloads about the emotional authority, how to navigate, etc., and never created a resource. So consider this video your resource, your tool of reference, a clear, concise, and direct answer that you have been looking for, searching online, trying to figure out the ins and outs of what it actually looks like to use your emotional authority, what the experience is like, how to navigate, etc. Like, we're finna dive into all of it right here, right now. Now hear me clear, listen to me good, Linda, okay? Lindell, if you a dude and you watching this, and you identify as a dude and you watching this, however, whatever, listen to me good, okay? I know a lot about a lot, but I do not know everything, okay? Human design is called an experiment for a reason. Take what resonates and leave the rest. Do not take my word for it. Go experiment with this shit on your own and see what works specifically for you. That is the only way you're going to figure out what works for you and what does not. Okay, so back to this question. It's a lot to factor in, so I'm gonna do my best to give this to you as simple and as straight as possible. Grab your pen, grab your paper, grab your human design chart, and let's dive in. 2 areas where you need to redirect your attention and your focus and your energy so that you can understand all of the information we're about to dive in and cover, right? So the very first one is your self-awareness, specifically your self-awareness around your own soul's purpose. I'm going to preach this, teach this, and continue to say this until the cows come home, and until you understand that knowing your soul's purpose is a basic, fundamental foundation that is necessary in order for you to be able to create balance and stability in any and all areas of your life, okay? If you don't know your soul's purpose, click the link in the description box and grab KYP. I've already created an ebook that's over 70 pages long, walking you through how to do this using your own human design chart. You have no excuse. Click the link in the description box to grab KYP. Moving on. Now, because this question is specifically asking about the decision-making process, you need to understand how you make decisions, right? We'll get to that in a moment. Your soul's purpose tells you 3 specific things that you need to know in order to make aligned decisions for yourself. Those 3 things are your energetic role, your energetic scope of practice, and your energetic requirement. When you understand these 3 things, the decision you're trying to make itself becomes a whole hell of a lot easier to make, because you understand what your specific energy is equipped to initiate, to guide, and to build. Now, if you are a reflector, of course you don't have emotional authority, but you are someone who is holding space for and providing reflection for those of us who have the emotional authority. So that's something to be aware of, and that you need that self-awareness around when it comes to knowing your purpose. The second thing, when you are talking about making decisions using the emotional authority, there is a lot of possibility and a lot of experience of anxiety, stress, etc., trying to figure out and make the decision as quickly as possible when you're simply not energetically wired to do so. So the helpful and more supportive path to take here is to shift your attention, your energy, and your focus to understanding what specific emotional wave it is that you have in the first place, so that you can pinpoint exactly where along your wave you gain emotional clarity. Specifically, you're looking to understand and gain awareness around what it feels like in your body when that moment of emotional clarity comes for you, okay? Again, we'll get there in just a second. We first have to shift your mindset and shift your attention away from all the anxiety and the stress and the pressure of trying to decide now when you're not even energetically wired to do that. Okay, so let's dive deeper into this. So there are 3 different areas that we need to look at in order to understand making decisions using the emotional authority and what the experience and the process of it looks like. So the very first thing is the decision-making process. In human design, the decision-making process is often referred to as your strategy and your authority. So first we have your authority. Your authority is your specific process for making a decision. It's how you actually come up with the conclusion of the decision you're going to go with, okay? So in this case, we're talking about the emotional authority, which it's referred to as an emotional wave for a reason. There is a wave of emotions that are attached to, connected to, triggered by, associated with the decision that you are being presented with. And so following your emotional authority means allowing yourself to fully and unapologetically experience the range of emotions that come with that decision without any type of judgment, without trying to change it, without trying to justify it. You're simply observing. So now your strategy is the action that you take once the decision has been made. So this is going to be the step that you take to move forward and follow through with your actual decision. For example, I am an emotional manifestor. So when I make a decision, my strategy is to inform first and then initiate, right? The semantics of the manifestor strategy are not up for debate in this particular video. We have already addressed the semantics of that in another video. If you want to watch that, it'll be linked for you in the description box below. I digress. Okay, just giving you an example so you can understand what I'm saying. The second area we need to explore is the literal experience of emotions, right? And so if you are unaware, I've actually created an entire video series here on YouTube called Being Human to walk you through what all of that looks like, okay? If you have not seen that video series, it would be linked for you in the description box below. To my point, you need to understand how the experience of emotions actually works and operates so that you can navigate your own experience of emotions that are attached to, triggered to, associated with the decision that you're trying to make. So the way that the experience of emotions works is that you first experience an emotional frequency as a result of the stimuli in your environment. Then there's what's called sensory input, and this is where your organs in your body take that raw emotional data and translates it into information that your nervous system can actually use and do something with. This is typically in the form of the 6 senses, right? So you have see, hear, taste, touch, smell, as well as your third eye, the 6th inner sense. Next, we have sensation and thought. So this is where your feelings, aka your thoughts about those emotions, emerge and where your thoughts begin to build and gain momentum. Then there's choice of output, and this is honestly where things get a little dicey, okay? So 2 options or 2 things occur in this particular stage of the experience of emotions. You're either going to trap the energy or release it. If you trap it, essentially it means that you have fought against the natural flow of how your energy is trying to be expressed and released, and it creates a sense of dis-ease, okay? So a disruption in the natural energetic flow. If you release it, then the energy is allowed to flow out as it is intended and according to its own energetic end goals, and is expressed. So the third area that we need to explore before we can pull everything together and get a clear answer are the 4 different types of emotional waves. So the very first wave is the source of all wave mechanics, and it operates out of gate 6, which is located in the solar plexus and reaches across to gate 59 in the sacral center. The source of wave mechanics is where the emotional wave is actually created, and then once we're reaching over to the sacral center where gate 59 is, that's where need, desire, and pleasure are created for the sake of establishing bonds and intimacy for deeper connection. The second wave is the tribal wave. It's based on need and operates through physical touch and sensitivities to need. This wave is described as a ratcheting up until it explodes and then resetting itself to start the process all over again. Next, we have the individual wave wave, and this one is based on passion. And so it operates on the expression of moodiness, emotions, melancholy, or passions when in the mood. The movement of this wave is similar to that what we see on the heart rate monitor, right? So it has an even keel to it, and then it spikes up really short and small, and then comes back down and goes back into an even keel. The key to this particular wave is going to be knowing when to be alone and when to be social, okay? Next, we have the collective, also known as the abstract wave, and this wave is based on desire. Now, the collective wave operates through feeling and desire, and it literally goes up like a peak and then has a immediate or a distinct drop to go down into a valley, right? And so what happens is whenever people with this particular emotional wave, myself included because I have this wave, whenever we enter into different things or experiences with an expectation or a specific desire that we expect to be met and it is not, the wave crashes and goes to the valley. The key with this wave is to simply enter into things for the sake of having the experience, not with the intention or focus being on having a specific desire or expectation on the outcome of that experience. Okay, now that I'm done calling myself out, okay? Because sometimes it's hard to do. I ain't gonna even lie to you. Sometimes you just be like, yo, I expected this to turn out one way and it didn't, and now I'm pissed off. Like, it takes some finagling to do. It takes some getting used to, and it takes some inner growth, you know what I'm saying? Some mindset shifting and all the things. If you need help with that, book a consult. The link is available for you in the description box below. Now, before we continue, regardless of what emotional wave you have, I would be remiss if I did not say this, okay? You need to know, you need to understand, you need to get it through your skull that the emotional wave is a result of a chemical process, okay? It is nothing that you have to justify. You feel how you feel. There's nothing to explain. Like, the emotions are just happening for you, and it's not anything that you can necessarily control. This is not by any means an excuse for you to be emotionally abusive to anybody else or yourself. What I am saying is that there is nothing to rationalize about why you feel how you feel. You just feel that way, right? You're not going to always have a logical reason as to why the emotion is there and why you're feeling it. All right, so back to the question, right? How do we know when the right time is to decide when it comes to an emotional authority? The way that you're going to know when the timing is right or when the decision is right is by following your emotional authority, using your emotional wave. But as we have discussed, this is vague as hell. So what does it actually mean? Well, now that you have all the background information, I can tell you, I can show you, boo. Real quick, if you go through this video and you're still like, nah, I need some support with this, it still ain't clicking, I need to figure this thing out, I need some help, then click the link in the description box below and book a one-on-one consult with me. I'll be more than happy to pull your human design chart and walk you through it and give you some real life examples and application and integration steps to figure everything out and understand how to use your emotional authority. All right, that link again is available for you in the description box below. So step number one, regardless of what the decision is, you need time to explore and experience all of the emotions, the full range of your emotions that are associated with, triggered by, attached to the decision that's at hand that you're trying to make. Now, typically what you will see regurgitated time and time again on social media is that if you're an emotional authority, you have to wait a minimum of 24 hours, right? Sometimes, to be honest with you, it will be longer, but here again, this is why you need to start tracking and understanding your specific emotional wave so that you can understand where within your wave the point of clarity actually occurs. Now, for me, it could go either way, meaning sometimes I have clarity in the moment and sometimes I do not. Most of the time I do not, but there are instances where I do. Now I'm about to ruffle some feathers, okay? This is me informing, okay? Now, the piece that's missing when people regurgitate this, oh, you have to wait a minimum of 24 hours type ordeal. The piece that's missing is that it is very much so possible, depending upon your energetic wiring, for someone with an emotional authority to actually have clarity and have an answer in the now, in the moment. But again, there are special and specific circumstances under which that happens and or is possible. I know this goes against all of the information you have read online, all of the stuff that's in the textbook for the definitive book of human design and all the things. I understand, but I'm speaking to you as somebody who has an emotional authority and has been living with one all of my life, okay? Hear me out. Here's what I mean. Now we've established that I'm an emotional authority. Cool. What you don't know, or what I have not said, is that I also have a defined spleen. So here's where that special and specific circumstance comes into play, right? You've heard of fight or flight, right? Where you either decide to stay and fight or you decide to tuck tail and run. The spleen center is literally energetically wired for instinct to occur in the moment, for an answer, for insight, for intuition to occur in the moment. In the event of a physical, real life or death type emergency, the splenic center will try to take precedent. Now, for me personally, because I also have split definition, right? This means that I have more than one voice trying to weigh in on the decision. And so if it is not a emergency, like a literal, a real emergency, life or death type emergency, then my splenic center, the instinct, the intuition in the now, in the moment, it's not going to take precedence at all. However, in a real life or death type emergency situation, the splenic center, because of how I am energetically wired, the splenic center will try to override my emotional authority. Now, and again, this specific instance of a true emergency, instinct, intuition in the moment will try to override the emotional authority. I'm not saying that it should still have the last say, because the hierarchy of authorities tells you how all of that goes. What I am saying is that it is worth mentioning that if you have a defined spleen, you need to be aware of the dynamics in which it kicks in to override your emotional authority and why it's happening, so you can adapt, find answers, and create solutions that are best going to support you and your well-being in the moment, regardless of if it's an emergency or if it's not. I personally like to make sure that my clients are well adapted and equipped to have the advantage whenever situations occur like that. My point is, if you are someone who has an emotional authority, right? You probably are, you watching this video, but you also have a defined spleen center as well. You have to remember that your emotional authority takes precedence over whatever it is that your spleen is trying to say and weigh in on in the conversation. The only exception to this, again, is a dire, a life or death actual emergency, where you have to act on instinct and you have to be on alert to move and save your life or the life of your children or whatever is going on, like house on fire type situation. Okay, no one is going to expect you to sit there and go through all the range of emotions to decide whether or not you're going to exit out of the burning building. Okay, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make rational sense. My point is, you need to understand how you are energetically wired. Now, I know some of y'all gonna be sitting here watching, oh, I don't have a defined spleen. Does this mean I can't act in an emergency? No. What I am saying to you, what you need to take away from this is that you need to understand how you are energetically wired. The mechanisms, the mechanics, the energy that you need in a life or death situation, a true emergency, is already built in. It just may not be in the spleen center if you don't physically have any type of definition in the spleen center, right? That's not the only place that you can have get up and go, it's time to get out of here to save our lives type of energy, right? Like, you need to understand your own human design, your energy, the way that you are energetically wired, and you need to be very intentional about understanding what this looks like and how it plays out for you in real life. Again, if you need help, click the link in the description box below and book a consult. I'm more than happy to help you. But again, in this particular capacity, there's only so much I can cover in a YouTube video. Now that we've covered the first step, which is allowing yourself to feel the full range of emotions that are attached to, triggered by, associated with the decision, right? The second step is for you to use your cognition or lead with your cognition. If you are unaware, your cognition in human design is known as your super sense. And so this is the way that you literally make sense of what things are in the human experience. One of the things that I like to share with my clients to help them get a better understanding of what I mean is to imagine yourself being blindfolded and you being fed food that you have to guess what the food is. Or, you know, those TV shows where they have you stick your hands inside of a box and feel around to try to see and guess what it is. It's the same notion, the same idea behind your cognition, right? It's how you literally feel your way around the world to make sense of what it is that you're experiencing, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, whatever. Step number 3, honor your emotional wave. Yes. And depending upon the type of emotional wave that you have, the clarity on the decision may actually show itself in the middle of the wave versus at the end. We hear all the time on social media, people regurgitating, oh, you need to wait to the end of your wave to have emotional clarity. That's not exactly true. For the decision-making process of it, sure. The final decision, the final say-so, sure. But the actual clarity, the moment that you have clarity, can occur at any point in your wave. And so it's very important to be able to identify it and track it so that you know how much time that you need at a bare minimum to make a decision when you're faced with those moments in life where you don't have enough time that you would normally like to, or as much time as you would normally like to be able to make the decision under normal circumstances, right? And that's if you even decide to entertain it. That's a whole nother discussion for another day. So now when you're writing out your emotional wave, you're not waiting for the wave to end in order to be certain. What you're waiting for is the moment of clarity within the wave, and then using the remaining phases of your wave to cross all your T's and dot all your I's and make sure that this is actually where you want to land. You're never going to be 100% certain, 100% sure, more like in the range of 80 to roughly 90%, and 90% is really pushing it. Just being honest. Now, I want to make a clear distinction here. The point of clarity is going to heavily differ for each of us depending upon how you are energetically wired. I gave you the example earlier with me having a defined spleen as well as having split definition, right? So I got a lot going on in terms of how I'm energetically wired and how my energy wants to flow. Now, while all energy in the chart is trying to make its way up to the throat center to be expressed and communicated, the path that it takes to get there, again, is going to look very different for each of us. Again, the key is going to be understanding where in your emotional wave that point of clarity is occurring and tracking it. So again, at the very least, you know how much time at a minimum that you need to make a clear decision. This is also going to tell you how you actually arrive to the decision itself in the first place. Most importantly here, though, it's also going to tell you what you specifically need to be supported in your decision-making process of holding space and allowing time, opportunity to explore all of those range of emotions that are associated, attached to, and triggered by the decision that you're trying to make, okay? So for example, I told you before that I have the collective wave that's based on desire, right? And if I have expectations going into something, it's going to be more likely that my wave crashes and all hell breaks loose, right? So when we're talking about making decisions, I have the channel of struggle as well as the channel of judgment, and they play a huge role and impact on my decision-making process and how I'm navigating through my emotions. Now, if you remember, the collective wave goes up in a peak and then it drops off like a cliff. So there's a cliff and then it drops down into a valley. And again, it crashes that way when expectations or desires have not been met. And so in order for me to gain or find my point of clarity occurs in my particular emotional wave at the bottom of the valley. So I have to ascertain the meaning of what the decision is going to mean for and or about me, the purpose that it's going to serve in my life, what it is that I'm trying to correct or correct with the decision. And also I have to understand what parts are worth fighting for me. I'm looking at my notes. This is because the gate of the fighter, gate 38, and then the gate of correction, gate 18, are all happening on the design side of my human design chart. So it's all subconscious and happening in the body. The body is leading first, and then the mind follows. But what is her name? But Victoria Washington, I believe is her name. She's another manifestor, but she always says body leads, mind follows. But here again, this is what I'm saying to you. Like, I don't hit my emotional clarity until I'm at the bottom of the valley in my emotional wave. And so again, this is happening because I'm not aware of the meaning or what's worth fighting for until I'm at the bottom of the valley, until the shit has already hit the fan and I feel how I feel. So this is what I'm saying. It's very important for you to be able to track where in your emotional wave that point of clarity happens for you. Now, because we're also talking about the splenic center and the root center, where those two channels, the channel of struggle and the channel of judgment, are connected, right? An entire emotional crisis has to occur for me before I can actually get the clarity, because we're talking about me having to face my fears as well as the truths of my own ambitions, what I'm trying to do, why I'm trying to do it, why it matters, why it's important, what meaning it has, what I'm trying to correct by doing it, etc., etc., etc. Now, I'll be honest with you, without this type of awareness, this emotional wave ate my ass alive. You hear me? Baby, the struggle was struggling for real, for real. And the same experience has the potential to happen for you if you do not take the time to learn your soul's purpose, understand how you are energetically wired, and understand your energetic role, your energetic scope of practice, and what your energetic requirements are. This is how I'm able to navigate emotional crisis so fast and so efficiently and gracefully without allowing it to overwhelm me in the moment, right? This is how I'm able to ride my emotional wave with awareness and make decisions a lot more quickly and efficiently. The same is possible for you, but you've got to gain the awareness. You've got to be willing to become self-aware. That being said, the entire emotional wave matters and has something to offer you in your decision-making process at every single stage. So just because I have emotional clarity at the bottom of the valley doesn't mean I stop there. I still have to cross all my T's and dot all my I's, and so do you, regardless of what your emotional wave is. You have to continue because there is a final say so that takes place. We'll dive into that in just a second, but first we got to address something else. It's very important that you are aware of something that I call shorting the wave. You might be like, shorten the wave? What the hell is that? I've never heard of that. You've never heard of that because it's a term that I made up. So yes, you would be correct. You've never heard of it. I made the term up. But shorting the wave refers to essentially when you get that moment of clarity, you stop and ignore everything that comes after it. You completely stop allowing your emotional wave to unfold and continue on, and you ignore everything that comes after that one point of emotional clarity. And this is a huge no-no. The reason this will come back to bite you in the ass is because of two things: circumstantial change and split definition. So circumstantial change in this particular instance is referring to the intuitive recognition of a shift or a change in energy that is surrounding the decision that you're trying to make. So you essentially have your point of emotional clarity where you have identified the emotion, but then you short your emotional wave and ignore everything that comes behind that because you think, now I have the decision, when you actually don't. And so what has the potential to happen is that from the point of having emotional clarity to the end of your wave where you have an actual final decision, the energy around the decision has the potential to change. And if you ignore the rest of your wave, aka short your wave, you have the potential to shoot yourself in the foot because you ignored all of the additional information that was there around the decision you're trying to make. Sometimes that intuitive recognition happens last minute, and if you ignore it, you can take a huge L. Think about any time that you ever felt like something was off, or you met somebody and was like, I can't put my finger on it, but something ain't right with old girl, or nah, homeboy, something ain't right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got to give yourself that space, time, and opportunity to have the full experience around the decision. I know there's anxiety. I know that there's pressure and stress and all the things in a lot of different instances or circumstances in your life that make you feel hard pressed to make a decision right here, right now. But allow your energy to do its thing, because energy doesn't lie. Now, the second reason why you should not short your wave is split definition, if you have it, right? So with split definition, essentially, it just means that you have different sections of your human design chart that are connected, and then you have gaps in between where those particular centers are not connected and are not speaking to each other. And so you have more than one voice trying to weigh in on the decisions that you're making. And I keep doing this because I'm imagining my own chart. Anyway, usually, but not always, there's a final say that happens at the end of the emotional wave that could potentially make a huge difference for you. Again, this is usually, but not always. Having that understanding and awareness of where in your emotional wave you have that clarity is also going to help you navigate in the event of an emotional crisis. Now, earlier we talked about an actual emergency, but an emotional crisis is any time that your emotions become so overwhelming that you lose physical and mental functionality to be able to make decisions and take action for yourself or to support your well-being in the situation as it's happening. And so if you can figure out and pinpoint where in your emotional wave you gain clarity and what steps lead up to that, you can consciously bring yourself back to the moment, right? And understand how to create that balance and stability for yourself in an emotional crisis. It's one of the things that I work with my clients one-on-one with. And so if this is something that you're struggling with or need more insight and assistance with, then click the link in the description box below and book a one-on-one consult with me. I'd be happy to help you out. So now let's take a look at what it actually looks like in real life for you to ride your emotional wave, to use your emotional authority, and to arrive at a decision. So when it comes to your emotional wave, what you are holding space for, filling with your cognition for, and allowing to meet you, not you go and find, is emotional clarity, right? But when we hear emotional clarity, this is very, very vague. And it's the catch-all, end-all for a lot of these human design gurus and experts and etc., etc. No shade. I just feel like if you're going to keep regurgitating stuff, you need to be able to explain it or at least give an example. That's all I'm saying. I digress because I don't want to go off on no tangent. This video long enough. Listen, when you hear people constantly reference to emotional clarity in reference to the emotional authority or riding your emotional wave, what they are really trying to communicate and do not know how to say is emotional wisdom. There's actually a difference between emotional clarity and emotional wisdom. Emotional clarity is your ability to identify the emotion. Okay? Emotional wisdom is your ability to learn from the experience that is created from or by the emotion. See the difference? One is of the mind and the other is of the body. Remember, we store information in two distinct places inside the body, in the DNA and in the nervous system. Riding your emotional wave, listening to your emotional authority is a game of stillness, okay? This is raw, concentrating power where you are observing and being curious, not trying to fix. Your subconscious is leading the show. The conscious thinks it's in charge, but it's really just a passenger that is playing out the belief systems, the patterns, all the things, the commands, etc. of the subconscious mind. We see further proof of this in human design, where your unconscious definition, aka the body, right, is actually crystallized roughly 88 days prior to your actual birth. And so your birth is said to be the time in which your soul actually enters your body. In your emotional wave, using your emotional authority, you are simply being aware and discovering the self as it is revealed and as it shows up. Think about the nature of a restless ocean. The more that you fight against your own waves, the more likely it is that you will emotionally exhaust yourself or succumb to emotional overwhelm and emotional crisis. Now here's the kicker. Emotional wisdom requires clear understanding of the following. So the first thing is what the emotion is. We know this as emotional clarity because I just gave you the definition and the difference between the two, right? So in order to gain emotional wisdom, you need emotional clarity. If you need to, use the emotional wheel to help you identify your emotions until you get a better handle on being able to identify them yourself and what they feel like in the body. The second thing is where in your body you feel the emotion, right? So how it feels in your body and where in your body you feel that emotion. This is going to tell you what other voices are trying to weigh in. All you do is simply reference the organs that are in the area of the body that you feel the emotion in and cross-reference it to the associated human design center that's associated with that particular organ, right? And that'll tell you how to navigate, what you need to do, what you need to address, regardless of if the Human Design Center is defined or undefined or completely open. Doesn't matter. It will still give you that insight. The next thing are your feelings, aka your thoughts, right? So the thoughts that you're having about the emotions and the thoughts that are passively and automatically coming up for you around the emotions that you are feeling. Yes, your feelings and emotions are two different things. Your emotions are energetic frequencies that are felt in the body, and the feelings are cognitive. So they're the thoughts that you have about the emotions that you're feeling in your body and what you feel like they mean about you, the situation, etc., etc. If you need to learn more about the difference between feelings and emotions and the process of emotions, or how we experience emotions, then check out the link in the description box for the entire YouTube series that I did called Being Human, where I will walk you through and teach you all about it for free. The next thing is what the combination of those thoughts and emotions are trying to tell you that you need to feel safe, sane, and secure in the decision, with the decision, right? Regardless of which way it leans, whether you decide to follow through and go ahead and do it, or you decide, hey, this is not aligned, this is not for me. Regardless, you need to understand or pay attention to what the combination of the emotions and the thoughts you have about those emotions are trying to tell you about your own energetic requirements, so that you can be able to sustain whatever comes with the decision in the first place. Do you see why I keep telling you that you need to know your soul's purpose? This is why, because knowing your soul's purpose, the energetic role, your energetic scope of practice, what your energetic requirements are, is what you need in order to be able to make an aligned decision. It's the missing piece that's going to allow you to take all of the data you have gathered, experienced, and gained, and went through, going through your emotional wave, and putting it together, putting it into action to help you actually finalize your decision. If you don't know how you show up, what your energy needs, what you're there, and what capacity you're there to help people, the decision in and of itself is always going to come with some type of backlash, regardless of if you realize it or not, when it could all be so simple. It could all be avoided if you understood yourself and your own energy and knew your soul's purpose. If you knew what your energetic role is, your scope of practice, and your energetic requirements are. Like, you need to know your soul's purpose. This is why I created KYP. Just because you have clarity does not mean that the decision in and of itself is actually aligned for you. You can go through your entire emotional wave and your emotional processing and all the things, and come out with clarity about the decision, the potential of the decision. But at the end of the day, if you do not understand your energetic role, your energetic scope of practice, what your energy requires, it's not going to matter. That is what nobody is telling you when they tell you, oh, just follow your emotional authority, just use your emotional wave and decide. Okay, regardless of even if you're not an emotional authority and you have one of the other authority types in human design, the missing piece is you understanding how you show up, what capacity you show up in, and what type of support, tools, and resources you need when you get there. If you don't know that, the decision is not going to matter. Long story long, click the link in the description box below and grab KYP, aka Know Your Purpose. The ebook is there to serve as a tool, resource, and guide to help you create a lot more ease in your life and skip over all of the BS. Like, you struggling for no reason, okay? Now, once you have emotional wisdom, the next step is for you to filter the decision through your soul's purpose. Here we go. We back again at the soul's purpose. Why? Because you need these basic fundamental foundation. I keep trying to tell you, player. Now, again, I know we covered a lot in this video, but, you know, I'm a giver. You know, I try to make life easy on the people that encounter me and leave you better than how you came to me. Okay, so if you feel like you learned something in this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share it with somebody who could benefit. Share it with another emotional authority so we can start making life easier for us. Okay, like, come on. And if you are somebody who feels like you just need an extra helping hand to put everything together using your own information, your own human design chart, your own life details and situations and circumstances, then go ahead and book a consult. Use the link in the description box below and book a consult. If you have questions before doing that, or you're trying to decide between booking a consult and purchasing KYP, send me a DM over on Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to help you navigate and figure out which product and or service is the best for you. I'm not one of them people that just sell you anything just to take your money, baby. We gonna make sure the tool and resource that you're getting from me is the one that's actually gonna help you, okay? And if not, I'm going to suggest or provide information on what is. All right, love, that's all I got for you today. See you in the next one. Bye.
Let me see your hands. Wave them at them bitches hating on you with their friends. Girl, you got it.